Roger McGough is a Liverpool poet. He's the author of many books set in and around Liverpool, including Merseysound, Gig, the Liverpool Scene, and 2 of his Liverpool poems are in the Oxford Book of 20th Century English Verse. He was born in Liverpool, attended school in Liverpool, was even married in Liverpool, and his football team is, of course, Everton. He's a member of the Scaffold, a light comedy group who played the Cavern during the early 60s. And during those incredible years, he lived, wrote, loved, watched football and drank in Liverpool. Roger, did you know the Rutles?
Oh, yes.
Roger McGough, Liverpool poet, writer, author, humorist, bon vivant, and a man who knew the Rutles. Thanks very much. It's very good. Yeah. Very helpful for our American viewers.
Good.
Here we go.
Sound one.
All right on the sound? Won't talk very loud, probably.
All right.
Right then.
Move your paper in your hand out of the way. Yeah,
All
lean
right.
back. Just lean back.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Mick, when did you first become aware of the Rutles?
I suppose when we were living in Edith Grove, in London. But I'd never heard their records or anything.
You never heard?
No, until they became like really famous,
You're talking like 1963?
Yeah, really early ones. I mean, I wasn't there in Liverpool. I wasn't aware.
Right.
Cavern.
Right.
I take it that's where they come from.
They come from the Cavern, Rutland,
Yes.
which is where they come. When did you first get to know?
Well, they came to one of our shows. And they came down with their suits on, straight from a TV show, and they came and just sat and watched us for a while, checked us out.
Were you billed as that?
We were billed as that, yes. We were.
What would it say?
When we get up to Birmingham and it'd say London's answer to the Rutles, and it would annoy us a bit, but then we saw the sort of stupidity of it all. South versus North battle, it's difficult to remember, especially as it's so long ago.
Right.
How stupid it was,
I mean, were you affected by Ruttle mania?
Well, I think everybody was. I mean, it was just one of those things. I mean, if you were a popular group like we were, we got that kind of thing. I mean, I wasn't personally affected. I mean, I didn't used to run after them, if you know what I mean.
Right.
But I mean, it happened to all the other groups then because it became a fad.
Right. Let's cut it, thanks.
Sound 2.
Mick, when did you first become aware of the Rutles?
Well, I think the first time we knew the Rutles existed was when we were living in London, all together. Keith, Brian, and me living in this little flat in Chelsea. And we didn't have anything. We were just playing just a young blues band. And suddenly there were these kids making all this money. And they saw the Rutles on TV, the Rutles were doing this, the Rutles had hit records. So we thought, well, we could do better, if not worse, and make more money or whatever, but we thought it can't be that difficult.
You thought it couldn't be that difficult?
No, it couldn't be.
So that was where, do you have any kind of rivalry between, that's where it started, the rivalry between the Stones and...
Well, there wasn't any real personal rivalry between the Rutles and the Stones, really. I mean, it was, we were quite, later on, met each other. But even at the beginning, but people like to make it like that, we were the South's answer to the Rutles, and when we go to Preston, people would boo us, because we weren't from the North, like the Rutles were, or the South was very proud of us because they at least had got something to combat Rutles with. So it was all a bit weird then, but we were, it was a long time ago.
Right. You were at, you went to Shea Stadium.
No, I was at Shea Stadium, when the Rutles were. That was the first big outdoor concert by a rock band, the Rutles at Shea Stadium, right?
Right.
So it was an exciting event. I mean, I even rented a helicopter for it, and came in, go down, zooming over the crowd. Never seen a crowd as big as that for a rock concert before. And ran in, met them before they went on, I think they were nervous, in front of all those people. And there was the drummer, I mean, Barry. There was Barry on this 18-foot drum riser swaying in the wind like that. Oh, I thought it was going to fall over. We had a good party afterwards.
Did you hear much?
No, nothing at all.
All right. Right, we're going back.
Shea Stadium. Shea Stadium was the first big outdoor rock and roll gig, and the Rutles were the first band to ever do one of those kind of gigs. So we all came there in a helicopter, sat in the dugout with the Rutles, you know, arm to arm. They were very nervous, I think, going on this big, huge stadium, right in the middle of the field. And suddenly they run out in the middle of the field, dash out, because there's no one in the middle of the field, everyone's up the sides. Right? So, and then you just look and you can't see anything, just nothing, just four figures out in the middle of that.
Tell us about...
Lean back a little, Eric.
Sorry. Tell us about the Bognor. What happened at the Bognor weekend?
So, well, when we got there, of course, okay. So anyway, we all had to stay together in this.
Go ahead, Mick. Go ahead, start again. I'll change the frame so we can...
All right.
Go ahead.
I'll start in that part. Anyway, we had a bit of ball tapping. Nothing much happened, sort of thing. We didn't reach anyone much, and we had to spend the night there, in this sort of youth hostel type place. And I always remember that I was with Marion Faithfull at that time, and we only had single beds in the hostelry, so Marion and I put the beds together so we could sleep together on the floor. And Nasty came in and said, "Oh, Mick, all you think about is fucking sex, man. We're down here for board tapping, not sex." I don't know, it's a lot of things. I mean, I guess women, really. Women are a great divisive force in the Rutles, I think. In a lot of bands. Not in ours, of course, but in the Rutles, it was a big problem, I think. They all hated each other, punching each other out, the Bigamy sisters, all this. You didn't know which one was which half the time. You know, it was a problem, I think, and it got in the way of the music, which was a pity, because they were still writing great music, even though they weren't on the road anymore.
Right.
I mean, Rutles' music was still as good, you know, in that period, you know, even though they weren't performing. Sergeant Rutland, I mean, was... Sergeant Rutter.
Let's cut it. That was where we're going. Yeah. So I think we've covered. Did you ever go into the Ruttle Claw building in Savile Row?
No, only since they gutted it. It's a great pity because it's a very beautiful 18th century house.
You didn't ever see that they used to have Hell's Angels hanging out in there?
Did they? I wasn't really, you know, part of the Ruttle empire as such at that point.
Right. Does Keith like the Ruttles?
Yeah, I think Keith liked the Rutles songs in the beginning. It influenced him a lot more than it did me. I mean, I never used to like them very much, you know. They were, to me, a bit sort of too... dee-dee-dee-dee-dee-dee, you know. But Keith liked that, you know, and it was a quick way to sort of start learning how to write songs.
Why do you think the Ruttles broke up? Do you think they'll ever get back together again? Bit there. It's great.
Okay.
Lovely.
You were rolling, Peter?
Yes.
All right.
Well, tell me about the cabin.
Well, of course, the cavern was the famous, by then, the famous place that the Rutles had first played in, you know, in Rutland. But I happened to be doing a tour of the north of England then, working as a solo, and I would play folk clubs. And I came through Rutland, and I played several dates, so I asked where was the cavern, because I wanted to see what, you know, where it was. And I went there in an afternoon, and I'm not sure, I don't remember then whether it was still in use. I don't know whether bands were still playing there, because I dropped by like in a late afternoon just to see what it was, and it was very small, and it had ceilings, and you went downstairs, if I remember correctly. It was exciting because you could imagine that here where the Rutles began, and and there was nobody but local people coming there to see them, and the Rutles doing sets of 4 hours or whatever it was, and by that time, of course, they were coming and doing concerts that lasted 36 minutes and coming in by helicopter and out and here, that was the beginning.
Did you ever see any signs of Rutlemania?
Oh yeah, as particularly in the north of England. I mean, there were music newspapers. I don't remember the name, Mersey Beat or something, Mersey Sound, Ruttle Beat. I don't remember what the name. There might have been one called Rutlemania that I don't remember, and it was just it focused mainly on the activities of the Rutles. And then there was they put out a fan magazine for Rutles fans that you could I think subscribe to, and you would get it every month. What the Rutles activities and what new Rutles records were coming out, and at Christmas time they would send out a Rutles record that other people couldn't get, only their fans could get, and they were usually funny. I think it was mostly Nasty who did that, who did that kind of humor.
Tell me when you first saw them in this country.
And they sang the sound. I remember the sound balance was completely off. Like I don't know whose guitar it was. You couldn't hear Stig's guitar or something, and you could just. And Barry's drums were lost, and you could just really. I think basically you heard Dirk and Nasty's voice, and then that was it.
Did Artie like it?
Oh, we all liked it. Yeah.
That's good. Did it affect your work at all?
No, not at the time, because actually this was a year or two prior to the success of Simon and Garfunkel, so it didn't have any effect upon our work.
Tell me about meeting them.
That was several years later. That was in 1968, after The Graduate had become an enormous hit, and Mrs. Robinson and Bookends and The Graduate, they were all #1 in the United States. I mean, we had 3 out of the top 4 albums were Simon and Garfunkel albums, and we were touring England, and I got a message through the record company that Dirk was in town, and would we like to have lunch with him? And Art was away. He was visiting somebody, and it was just me who was there, so I said, yeah, of course, I would be delighted to. And we went over to their record company, and that was the first time I met Dirk.
Play it. That's okay. Anytime, Eric.
Tell me when you met any of the Rutles.
The first Ruttle that I met was Dirk, and I met him when we were in England. Simon and Garfunkel were in England to do several concerts at the Albert Hall, and it was just after the release of The Graduate, and we had #1 records on the singles charts and the album charts. Mrs. Robinson was #1, and we had 3 out of the top 4 albums, #1 album, and I got a call one day in the hotel from Derek Taylor saying that Dirk would like to come to the concert or have lunch with us, and I called Artie's room and he wasn't there, and so I wandered over to the record company, and Derek Taylor introduced me to Dirk.
Was this Ruttle Corps in Savile Row?
Yes. Yeah, it was. I don't remember the street because
right.
they had the first offices, and then they moved anyway. And yeah, so we went out to lunch. Dirk and me and Derek Taylor and the road manager, their boyhood friend from Rutland, I've forgotten his name. And we just went to a pub, and we walked through the streets, And of course, it was now past the time when the Rutles couldn't walk on the streets, when they would be mobbed, you know, I think so. So they walked in the streets, but he was like royalty, Dirk, because truck drivers would stop and they would say, hi, Dirk, or shopkeepers would come out. Everyone, all ages, knew him, from little kids, you know, right up to older people. They had transcended the whole age group of the nation, and that's what he was like. He was like royalty, and he was very charming, really, and very courteous, and stopped to talk to people and signed autographs, and was in no way rude or egotistical or temperamental or anything. And we went to a pub and we had a simple lunch, like, I don't remember what it was, English kind of lunch, like tiny sandwiches or something, and dried sausages or something. And then I do remember, and then we all had our plates. We were all sitting around this table talking, and someone said, "Do you want a cup of tea?" or something like that. And Dirk started to like clear the plates, and Derek Taylor said to him, "Ah, that's a good boy, Dirk, just like a good working class lad, you know." He was this guy that was the king of the world, you know.
Tell me about the Sergeant Rutter album.
The Sergeant Rutter album, well, when the backwards tapes, and that was all.
Did that influence your music?
Yes, it did influence it to a degree, although we were heading in that direction anyway, because we were spending more and more time in the studio, which is very similar to the situation that the Rutles found themselves in. But now, with all these unique possibilities of using the studio as an instrument opened up with the Sergeant Rutter album, we began to experiment ourselves with those techniques, and to that degree, they were a big influence. Yeah.
What do you think that place is in musical history?
I don't know. I'm really not good at those kind of questions. What their place is. I mean, it's probably easier to place them sociologically as a phenomenon of a sociological phenomenon of the age than to judge them at this point musically as to where